How to be happy alone. Listen to me. If you're waking up every day thinking you need someone to make you smile, you're already losing the game, because real happiness, it doesn't come from them. It doesn't come from calls, from texts, or from company. It comes from you. Let me tell you something no one else will. Being alone is a gift. It's not a punishment. It's a mirror. It shows you who you are, without distractions, and that mirror, it doesn't lie. When you sit in silence, you start to hear the noise inside you, the wounds you covered, the lies you told yourself, and the dreams you buried because someone else didn't believe in them. But in that silence, you also find something deeper. You find you, the real you, the one who doesn't need validation, attention, or applause, the one who is whole, without anyone clapping. Too many people fear being alone, so they settle for half love, for fake friends, for shallow company. They'd rather be around noise than sit with truth. But that's not you, not anymore. Because when you become happy alone, you stop chasing people. You stop needing approval. You stop begging for love. You walk different. You move like peace. You move like someone who knows their worth. Being alone teaches you the most dangerous skill in the world: independence of mind. You think for yourself. You feel for yourself. You decide for yourself, and when you do that, nobody can manipulate you again. You become powerful, you become silent, and silence is where real ones live. No drama, no games, just clarity. Some people look at you and think, why are you always alone? But what they don't see is you're not alone. You're aligned, you're focused, you're building a version of yourself that no heartbreak can break, no absence can shake, and no loneliness can touch. You wake up in peace, you go to sleep with clarity. You don't rely on anyone to fill your cup because you've learned to pour into yourself. And here's the truth: when you master that, when you master the art of loving your own soul, you become the kind of person people gravitate toward. But you no longer chase, you don't settle, you don't explain, you don't shrink, you just be, and that's enough. So today, stop waiting for someone to come and make your life complete. You are not a half. You are a whole. You are complete, with or without them. The world taught you that being alone is sad, but I'm here to tell you being alone is sacred, because when you're happy alone, that's when you're finally free. Being happy alone is not about being isolated from the world. It's about finding a deep sense of fulfillment within yourself that doesn't depend on anyone else's presence, approval, or validation. Most people confuse solitude with loneliness, but they are entirely different realities. Loneliness is the absence of connection, but solitude is the presence of self. It is in the quiet moments, when no one else is around, that a person begins to truly understand who they are, what they believe, and what their soul truly longs for. This understanding is the foundation of lasting happiness. When you're constantly surrounded by others, their energy, their opinions, and their expectations can cloud your own. You begin to morph into what others expect you to be, rather than staying true to who you are. Being alone removes the noise. It creates space for reflection, for healing, for growth. You begin to hear your own voice again. You begin to trust it. And in doing so, you start building a relationship with yourself that becomes the most important relationship you'll ever have. Because no matter where you go in life, the one person you cannot escape is you. And if you cannot find peace within your own skin, no external source will ever fill that void. To be happy alone is to wake up in the morning and feel content without needing a message from someone else to validate your existence. It's about doing things you love without waiting for someone to join you. Whether it's walking in the park, reading a book, working out, or simply sitting in silence watching the sunset, it's about being fully present and grateful in the moment, even when no one is there to share it with you. It's a skill, a mindset, a discipline, and once mastered, it becomes a source of unshakable strength. The world often glamorizes relationships, friendships, parties, and constant interaction, but no one really talks about how powerful it is to enjoy your own company. Society has programmed people to believe that happiness is a shared experience, but the truth is, happiness begins internally. When you're happy alone, you don't fear loss, you don't fear rejection, you don't fear being left out, because your joy is not tied to anyone else's presence. You become self, sufficient emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. Learning to be happy alone also means breaking free from emotional dependency. You stop expecting others to make you feel seen, loved, or important. You take that responsibility into your own hands. You validate yourself. You affirm yourself. You love yourself not in a superficial way, but in a deep, genuine way that honors your journey, your pain, your healing, and your growth. You become your own best friend, your own therapist, your own cheerleader, your own sanctuary. You begin to understand that your value is not determined by how many people want to be around you, but by how much peace you feel when you're with yourself. You no longer fear quiet nights or solo dinners. You embrace them. You turn them into sacred rituals that recharge your spirit. You find hobbies that excite you, passions that inspire you, and routines that ground you. And with each passing day, your solitude becomes less of a burden and more of a blessing. When you're happy alone, you don't lower your standards just to avoid being single. You don't tolerate disrespect just to feel wanted. You don't chase people who are inconsistent, distant, or unavailable, because you've already built a life that feels whole without them. You've already created peace, and you protect it fiercely. You understand that not everyone deserves access to your energy. You become selective, intentional, and aligned with people who match your peace, not disturb it. Happiness alone also comes from self-discovery. You take time to explore your strengths, your weaknesses, your triggers, and your dreams. You become aware of your patterns, how you react under pressure, what wounds still need healing, what boundaries you need to set, and what parts of your past you need to release. Alone time becomes the furnace of transformation. It forces you to face the parts of yourself you used to avoid. It demands honesty, vulnerability, and courage. And through that process, you become wiser, calmer, and more confident in your identity. You stop comparing your journey to others because you're no longer distracted by their noise. You stop trying to keep up with the lives of people on social media because you're too busy building a life that's meaningful to you. You find purpose in your own lane. You understand that your timeline is yours alone, and that everything is unfolding exactly as it should. Being happy alone also means forgiving yourself. Too often, people carry guilt, shame, and regret from the past. Alone time allows you to sit with those emotions and process them. It allows you to heal at your own pace without rushing, pretending, or performing. It gives you room to breathe, to cry, to reflect, and to forgive. And in that forgiveness, you set yourself free from the chains of self-judgment. You begin to move with compassion for yourself and for others, and with that freedom comes creativity. When your mind is no longer cluttered by other people's opinions, your own ideas begin to flow. You tap into your gifts, you write, you paint, you build, you design, you start creating things that reflect your soul. The solitude becomes your studio, your laboratory, your sanctuary of inspiration. You begin to realize that so much of your potential had been buried under the pressure of being everything to everyone. But now, in this quiet space, it starts to bloom. And perhaps most importantly, being happy alone gives you clarity. You stop making decisions out of desperation. You stop rushing into things. You become grounded, centered, aligned. You learn to listen to your intuition, and it becomes louder than your fears. You learn to trust timing, to flow with life, and to surrender control. You realize that solitude is not emptiness, it's spaciousness, and in that space, all the answers you were looking for begin to emerge. You also learn patience, not just with life, but with yourself. You realize that growth is not linear. Healing takes time, and happiness doesn't mean you'll never feel pain, but it does mean you're no longer afraid of being alone with that pain. You know how to sit with it, understand it, and move through it. You become emotionally resilient, and that resilience becomes your foundation. As you grow more content alone, your standards rise. You're no longer impressed by superficial things. You're no longer swayed by empty words or temporary excitement. You value depth, presence, honesty, and because you've already given those things to yourself, you recognize them instantly in others. You don't need someone to complete you. You want someone who complements the wholeness you've already found. You no longer date from lack, you connect from overflow. You also start living with intention. You don't waste time in spaces that drain you. You don't engage in gossip, drama, or mindless distractions. You protect your peace like it's sacred, because it is. You spend your time doing things that bring you joy, fulfillment, and alignment. You structure your days around your values, your priorities, and your truth. And in doing so, every day begins to feel meaningful, even the quiet ones. To be happy alone is not about rejecting connection. It's about elevating your connection with yourself so that when you do connect with others, it's from a place of strength, not survival. You bring your full self to the table, not your wounds disguised as love. You bring presence, not codependency. You bring clarity, not confusion. And if someone leaves, it doesn't destroy you, because you were never lost in them to begin with. This kind of happiness is not loud or flashy. It's soft, steady, unshakable. It's a quiet confidence that doesn't need to be explained, a light that shines from within even on the darkest days. It's the kind of happiness that makes people wonder how you do it, how you smile without a crowd, how you glow without attention, how you move without needing applause, and the answer is simple: you've learned to be happy alone. And in doing so, you've become free.